So Russ, thanks for being here. And obviously one of your big elements of your job is growth through attraction. And I think so many people, well, I just tell you, the vast majority of people don't do attraction in our
Right.
organization.
Yeah.
And I think some of them have head trash around it. Some of them just don't know how to be purposeful about it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. First off, how did you even get into this world that you're in today?
Bryon, I'm going to say this the way I need to say it.
Yeah.
Like, never get good at something that sucks. Like, recruiting is the hardest freaking part of the whole. Like, if recruiting was easier, every brokerage would be successful, and that's just not the case. And I will tell you, like, from doing coaching training and consulting and so forth, like at one point I had 28 different offices under me across the south half of the country, and I would go into the office and be like, okay, what's working, what's not working, where are you at, what are you looking at? We'd look at the P&L, look at the income statement, and like almost every single time the answer to their problems was recruiting.
Yes.
Whether it's doing more recruiting or just doing better recruiting or doing more and better recruiting, it was almost always a recruiting problem, because I've never been in an office like, we just got way too many people that are productive. Never. Right. So it's always that game. And then like the understanding that most real estate offices, there's about a 25% churn every year. So it's a normal thing for you to lose 25% of your people every year. That's if you're normal. Right. So a lot of people compare themselves to a standard that is just not able to be held by any standard. So like, look at some of the people coming in when the market shifted. We had a lot of people that were doing attraction. They're like, everything's great. It's like when you're sailing your ship down a river with a tailwind, man, you look like the best sailor in the world.
Good.
But as soon as
Yeah.
you end up in the big ocean and you've got a headwind, you're like, wait a minute, now you're going to find out who knows how to sail. Right. And I think a lot of people said, well, I've never lost people, Russ. I'm like, if you lost less than 25% on an average year, you are outperforming the market. If you're sub 20, that's amazing. So we got this long run where people just didn't lose people because there was no reason to get out of the business. If you got in and started moving and did some basic stuff, you were making money. So people stayed. And then when the market tightens up, the people that aren't doing the things that they should and that don't know how to sail, they start falling and their boats start sinking and they leave the business. So what happens is, we have this push and pull all the time on this recruiting thing. I actually had one role previous company. And I was like, okay, so you're going to give me the title. I'm in charge of recruiting for the whole company. I'll build that team out. Well, whatever you do, don't give me the title with recruiting in it. Like, why not? So my title ended up being vice president of recruiting. So I was like, come on, man. But so for me, it's never been about recruiting. It's about business building. So I'm sitting with an owner or a broker, and I was like, you want to build your business? Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing you need to do to build your business. And sometimes it's just reframing what you're doing. I'm just building my business. And for my business to work, I'm a service business. I need to have more people. It's like, okay, I make hot dogs. And in order to be a hot dog vendor, I need to sell hot dogs. Well, I hate hot dogs. You're in the wrong business. Right. So it's a matter of like, learning the ways to communicate with people to get it so that they can say, you know what, I don't want to do that, but I'm willing to do this. Okay, cool. Well, let's just do it. You can call it whatever you want. And many times people are just hung up on the words. And if we can get past the words, it's like, okay, do you want to grow your business? Yeah. So in order to do that, we need to get people. Yeah, cool. If I can show you 3, 4, 5 things that can help you get more people and make it easier and less painful and have them come to you instead of you chasing them, would you be willing to do that? Yeah. Okay, so good. So we're on the same page. So you're fine with recruiting. You just don't want to recruit that way. So I got really good at teaching that, and I got really good at training that, and I got really good at being successful at that. And then the more successful you got, then people are like, can you do that here too? And I'm like, no, man. So yeah, so it's one of those things. It's always a challenge. And a lot of people are like, your job looks like so much fun, Russ. And I'm like, every single meeting that we do is high stakes, because now not only am I doing recruitment, but I'm doing it in front of other people and I'm doing it on their behalf. And if I fail, they fail, so it's like all of them are really, really high stakes. But there's a lot of really neat things that you can learn on how to help people make the decision for themselves. A big part of the recruiting thing is like, I don't really actually do recruiting, I don't think. I was like, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? How are you going to get there? If you'd be willing to do these 2 or 3 things, you'd be more likely to get there. Yeah. Are you willing to do those? Yeah. If I helped you do those, you think you'd have a better shot at being successful? Yeah. So what do you think you should do now? Well, I think I should join you. Okay. Like
Yeah.
you get them to the point where they make the decision for themselves by communicating that back and forth. And it's never about EXP. It's never about any of the brokerages. Nobody cares about the brokerage. They care about them going from point A to point B. So one of the things that I did many years ago is I built out this little recipe for having the conversation. So when you get an agent in this conversation, you actually have a plan to get them from point A to point B, right? So this is the recipe for a recruiting conversation. It's like, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? And then the third part is, how are you going to get there?
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
If you can get me really clear on where you are now, I know where you are now. Here's the other thing. Like their skill set didn't get them there. Their skill set got them there, got them to where they are. Right? So we're going to have to do something, learn something, change something, shift something to be able to get them to be here. If I know this and I know this, it becomes really obvious what we need to do to get them to this next point, right? For some of them, it's basic, and for some of them, it's a more complicated plan.
And there's so many parallels between, and so, because my background, I've trained a lot of recruiters, coached a lot of recruiters. And what I've always told recruiters is, listen, this is no different from being a great listing agent, right? And in former lives, I would see brokers hire recruiting managers who were agents that were tired of doing the agent thing.
Yeah.
And look, as a recruiter and as a listing agent, you do the same thing. You prospect for leads, you convert leads, you set an appointment, you go on an appointment, you show value, and you close for their business, right? That is recruiting and that is listing. And if you have somebody who doesn't want to do listing anymore, as a professional recruiter, they're not going to be very successful either. But what's funny though is that that's not the audience that we're talking to, is the professional recruiter, right? And you said something else that's so key is your mindset, your head trash that you have about recruiting as a word. For a lot of people, it's the same head trash they bring into prospecting, right? People think prospecting means calling angry expireds and getting your hat handed to you and then begging for their business, right? That's such a negative mindset around it. And you could do it that way, but I wouldn't advise it. The way I think about prospecting is going and making new friends and providing value to them. You do that across enough people, and oh my gosh, you're going to have a tremendous life in real estate sales. Isn't the same true of recruiting?
Yeah, well, so this is a human nature game, right? And if you understand the nature of the humans, why don't we build something that actually works for the average human? So there's two ways you can do sales, okay? And this is for real estate sales and for recruiting, right? You can literally go through what I'm going to do is I'm going to find as many people as I can, and I'm going to walk up to every one of them like, hey man, do you want a hot dog? And the guy's like, no. Right? You're like, hey, do you want a hot dog? 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 And somebody's going to say yes. You're like, ooh, sweet, right? Like you're playing a numbers game, right? The other way you can do is you put up a little building and you put up a little sign that says hot dogs, right? And by the way, everybody that comes up to that thing probably wants a hot dog. And the guy that comes up there is like, hey man, do you have fried chicken? Like red flag, there's something wrong with them. And ladies, ladies, you can't fix them. There's something wrong with them. Let them go.
Well, what's funny about that is even if I were starving and I wanted a hot dog, somebody walks up to me and says, "You want a hot dog?" That's going to be a big turnoff for me. So I'm going to be, little stranger danger is going to go off.
Yeah. Now that you say that, yes, I do, but not from you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So, getting your mind right about recruiting for your average agent, right? I think if you want to be an influencer to the level of some of our top folks, you're going to create systems and you're going to attack it as a business.
Yes.
But for the average agent, is that how they should be looking at attraction?
Yeah, no, actually the exact opposite. So one of the things that's become really, really key is understanding how most people look at this. They're just looking at it wrong, right? So when I ask the average agent, hey, do you want to do attraction? You want to be a recruiter? And most of them are going to say no. Or yeah, but they're not going to do the activities because the way they think of it and the way they see it, they start to look at it like this. So here's the drawing I've got for that. Okay. So your job as a real estate agent is trade time for money. Houses equals cash. That's your bucket, right? That's your main bucket. That's your golden goose. And a lot of people are like, well, you need to do attraction. which is implying they need to have a second bucket, which is people equals cash. So what happens is we find this with building businesses, all kinds of different businesses. What happens is, like right now, I'm spending 100% of my time on house sales. And by the way, for most agents, they need to sell more houses. So they're not making the dollars that they want on average. Most agents are not making the dollars they want. We know by the average, average agent I talk to is like, how much do you want to make? 100 grand a year. National average is 54. So that means there's a bunch of people that aren't making the 100 grand that they got into the business for. So if I say, hey, I'm going to have you take some time away from your cash cow to work on something else that, this guy, one closing equals, let's say $350. So you're trading a 10K check for a $350 check? That does, like, in the back of their head, they're going I don't understand the math. I don't want to understand the math, but the economics of this make no sense. So you get this feeling like, if I distract myself from this and I'm not already making enough money at this, and I distract myself with putting just like 20% of my time into this, now I have to work 120% of the time to be able to make sure this thing doesn't fall apart. Or what happens is they put the 20% into this, and now they're only at 80% on this. And guess what? Now instead of doing 10 sales, they're only going to do 8 sales in the next year because they distracted themselves with this. And we see people get into this loop and they fail. Or they get like, I tried it, Russ, and then my business went down. And I was like, okay, so let's reframe this, okay? So really, here's the deal. What should you really be doing? To the average person we're talking to, they should be focused on selling houses, okay? And you're going, Russ, you're the growth guy. You're supposed to be pumping attraction. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be making sure we have successful people that can feed their families and build a legacy, right? And by the way, they're going to do that way easier and faster through here. This person, once they get to the point where they can make enough money and start going the direction they want and get to that 100, 200,000, listen, if they miss a sale or two, it doesn't kill them. But the person that's at 54,000, they miss a sale or two, it puts them at 34,000, right? Yeah. So here's the thing. Think of it like this. If I could show you a couple of recipes for attraction through production, this is your focus. Now what happens is we've got a different scenario here where the buckets, instead of being side by side and you're taking time out of one to work the other, let's just say, forget that. Let's make the attraction a byproduct of the sales. Yeah. What does that mean? So I want you to focus 100% on this. And then if you get somebody that says to you, hey, Bryon, I want to talk about EXP. Cool. Now, would I be willing to divert some time for the guy that shows up at the hot dog stand and say, dude, I want a hot dog? You're like, all right, cool. Up until then, I'm like, who wants hot dogs? Who wants hot dogs? And the guy puts his hand up like, okay, I'll stop that to handle that guy, right? So it becomes a byproduct. So now you're not spending a ton of time, energy, and effort. You don't have a whole separate business you're building. You don't have something distracting you from your business. You just have something that is a byproduct of your business. So this in the business world, we call this vertical integration, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I've got my main thing that I do is going to feed the next thing that I do. So this becomes a secondary business. Like, I'm already doing this anyway. I'm already bumping into these people anyway. So here's the deal. You've got a sphere of influence for trading time for money selling houses. Okay. So I've got an SOI for this. Okay. And if you don't have the list, name, phone number, email address, and of everybody you know, like, and trust, you better get that together, because that's your gold mine, guys. That is your highest conversion in the business, is sphere of influence. So you got to make sure you got that. So then the second thing is, okay, I need to make a second list. And by the way, I'm already talking to these people anyway. I already have these people's information for the most part in my system. Look at the people that I touch when I do a real estate sale. So let me ask you, Bryon. Let's just say one listing. I have a listing. Let's make a list. Let's make a list of the agents that we could add to our sphere of influence from one listing. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go right off the top. Let's say how many real estate agents do we touch in the deal? One. I'm going to give you the easy one. The co-op.
So the co-op, right? Okay.
There's always one on the other side of the deal. 95% of the time, there's a guy on the other side of the deal. One. Okay. Two.
So, two, I'm going to call the listing agents in my farm, because I want their unrequited buyers to come take a look at my listing. So, okay, so that's two.
Let's say there's 10 of those we could have. Okay. Who else?
My agents in my own brokerage in that area. I'm definitely going to be talking to them.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's just say there's 20 of those. Okay. How about 4? How about 4? How about the agents that show the property?
Yeah. Good.
How many showings do you have on a typical property that's priced right these days?
Let's say 8.
Okay. Who
Okay.
else?
Who else? Maybe agents in a mastermind group that I'm part of. I might also put that in front of them as well. Or, the MLS list, I'm gonna, blast out to all agents, obviously.
Okay.
Um,
How about the ones that
yeah,
show up to the open house?
yeah, obviously, yeah.
Agents will pop in. Okay. Good. So let me ask you this question. Let's go a little weird. Okay. So my brain works a little weird. Part of how I got this job because they're like, Russ is weird. We want that. I'm weird the right way for this. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the real weird ones, right? Is there a title person on the deal?
Yeah.
Is there a
Mortgage person,
mortgage person? Right? Is there an
maybe
inspector?
even a home warranty, an inspector, an appraiser.
You said a warranty, right? And
Mhm.
by the way, some of these people are licensed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's the fun part. Here's the multiplier. So open house. Let's say 2 agents show up for your open house, right? So title
Mhm.
people. And you're like, well, Russ, title people aren't licensed real estate agents. No, but they know real estate agents. So how many agents do you think the average title person knows? 200?
They better if they're going to be successful.
How many the average mortgage person know? 200?
Yeah.
Your inspector should know 200 agents. Your appraiser should know 200 agents. Your warranty person probably knows 200 agents.
And
Okay,
not the
so
same 200 in all cases.
a lot of times not the same 200, right? So let's just
Right.
go through and do the math here. 20, 30, 31, 39, 41, 1,041 potential touch from one listing. So you might say, well, okay, Russ, so now what? I say, Bryon, here's the question I ask all the time. It's like, hey, Bryon, I do a market update that tells people what's going on in the market in this market every month. Would you like me to send it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Almost every agent I ask that question to will say the same thing, right? Say, hey, if you see something that I'm not seeing, let me know, right? Or if you do one, send me yours because I want to see what you're saying too and seeing too. So what happens is in the process of doing the sale, we've got the co-op agent and we build a good relationship and do a good job. That person's potentially somebody, well, we definitely add them to our sphere. And then I'm going to just follow up every single month with making sure they get my market update. Is that agent going to move right now? No. But eventually something's going to happen. The brokerage is going to change. Somebody's going to do something. They'll add a fee that makes them mad. And then this guy's going to go, who am I going to go talk to? I'm going to go talk to the person that's my expert. Russ has been sending me a market update every month. That's telling me what's going on. Oh, yeah. And by the way, guys, you really should be doing a market update every month for house sales also. And here's the reason why. Bryon, have you gone out in public and talked to people recently and they say something like, hey, Bryon, what do you do for a living? And you say,
I'm in real estate.
some version of a realtor. And then they ask you what? Almost every time, some version of
How's the market?
bingo, right?
Yeah.
The reason I push so hard on doing a good market update all the time, I push and push and push. And it's like my broken record of Russ. Oh, he's going to talk about market update. Nobody else has ever asked me for anything else. They never ask me how many houses I sold and what do I love about the job. They don't even get into that. They're like some version of how's the market or mortgage interest rates, which is a version of how's the market, right? So I've got to get really great at answering that question. So I have a market update. So here's the way I answer the question. Every month, I do a market update, tells you what's going on in the market. You want me to send it to you, Bryon?
Sure.
Bingo. Now they're in my sphere and I'm delivering something that they want.
I was just about to say, you've differentiated yourself from 99.9% of realtors who will either not bother to do something like that, or even worse, they'll get defensive toward that showing, toward that buyer's agent who maybe gave negative feedback or no feedback at all, and well, jerk or whatever, and blame the messenger, right? Instead of building that relationship. And I mean, it's like people don't think into the future that, hey, I might have another buyer for their listing, or they might have another buyer for my listing. Let's keep good mutual relationships with one another. So I like it. And it's interesting, of all the things we offer as a company, if you sat there in a conversation with an agent and tried to enumerate it all, by the end of the conversation, you'd be hoarse and they'd be asleep.
Yes.
And of the multitude of things we offer, really at whatever point they are in their career and their life and their desires, it may only be 2 things that they would really care about that's missing from their world. It's interesting you talk about this. There's a concept, and I believe the gentleman's name was Kurt Watson, and the concept is the psychology of change.
Yeah.
And what he said was, we go through 4 stages anytime we make a major decision in life. We go through 4 stages. And it's the positive present to the negative present to the negative future to the positive future, positive present, negative future, positive future. And the idea is this: you say in recruiting, you'll hear this a lot. I'm happy where I'm at. That's a
Yeah.
positive present. I'm happy where I'm at. And to your point, you ask a question like, okay, where are you today and what's your goal? Well, I'm at 5 million. I want to be at 10 million. Okay.
Cool.
Well, now we know you're not happy where you're at. You just told me that, right? So now we just went from the positive present to the negative present.
Yeah.
And then I'm through a series of questions I'm going to ask you and help you arrive at the negative future, which is where you're headed anyways. I'm not doing anything other than just helping you self-discover what's likely to occur in your
Yep.
pathway from going to 5 to 10 million if you
Yep.
don't change things. And
Yep.
I'm going to ask you questions like, who do you have that's going to help you get there? Do you have a definitive plan to
Yeah.
get there?
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to tell me no. Or you're going to give me an answer like Facebook ads. Okay, great. So are you going to go from 5 million to 10 million using Facebook ads? Well, I don't know. Okay, so now either way, we're going to arrive at the negative future, which is the modern day definition of insanity, which is
Yes.
doing the same thing over and over again, expecting
Yeah.
different results.
Yeah.
That is the negative future. And then just getting them to the positive future is just simply asking the question in a manner of speaking of, if I could show you how to get there, would that be
Yeah.
worth a cup of coffee? And that's the easiest way to begin that dialogue. So I love that. It's very much in line with how we as humans think and how we tend to make decisions in our life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people separate out the way humans work. So really, the solution for most of them is just really, really simple stuff. It's not massive tweaks; it's minor tweaks to get them going in the right direction. And every one of you guys can do that.
So
Wow.
if I were an agent just out there doing my production,
Yep.
what's the first step? What would I do to start going down this pathway?
First step for me is I'd like just get some basic information. Just make sure you got 2 or 3 things that you know, like know what Fast Cap is, know what Kickstart is. So like, hey, here's 2 programs that we have internal in EXP that can help you get to there, because most of them are going to be about selling more houses. Newsflash, most of them are going to be about selling more houses. Okay. It's not about all the other stuff. They don't care about stocks. They don't care about rev share. They don't care about any of that stuff. Sell more houses. Oh yeah. And by the way, there's a bunch of other things that come along with that, but let's focus on selling more houses. And they go, thank you. It's refreshing because you're focused on what I need to focus on, $10,000 checks. Okay. So get some real basic understanding of that stuff. And then you're ready to rock and roll. Second thing, first step in starting the process, build a list. Like, how many agents do you know? Just start making a list: name, address, phone number, email address. Don't go in and be like, I'm going to pull a chart and pull a list of a bunch of random people I don't know. Don't do that. Start with the people you know first, just like I tell you to do here. Start with your family and your friends and the people you mountain bike with and the people you go to church with and the people that you like and the people you communicate with and the people you go bowling with, right? This is start with the people you've done deals with. Go backwards and say, who did I do a deal with? The MLS has all that information in there. You got the agent contact info. And you say, what do I do with that? Then learn how to do a real estate market update. Bryon, we probably could do a video on how to do a real estate market update. I've got a couple of them floating around if you want to borrow 1 or 2 of mine. So
go to Fast Cap, by the way. We already have one for you.
Good. Okay, so they'll have a resource. So guys, look for the resource. They'll have a video on how to do a good market update. Get that resource, learn how to do it. You should be doing that anyway. Okay. Boom, just do one and make sure you send it to every realtor you bump into, because it's the only thing that I can say when I talk to a realtor. Hey, do you want me to try to sell you something? No. Would you like me to tell you what's going on in the market? Yeah. I've got specific metrics that I pulled right out of the MLS. Would you like to see what those are? I don't need to know anything. I'm just telling them what the market did. Tell them what the market's doing now. It's like we're at 2.3 months supply of homes. By the way, last year we were at a 2.1 month supply of homes, and the average price went up $30,000 over the last year. Wow. Okay, cool. And based on that supply, it means house prices will probably still go up, which means it's still a seller's market. If inventory doubles, it's still a seller's market. So let it go up. I want it to go up. Okay. Tell that story, and the other agents will be like, cool. Now they know. They're going to be in their next listing appointment. They're like, yeah, well, we're at a 2.3 month supply of homes. And in the back of their head, they'll be like, thanks, Russ. Thanks, Bryon. Okay. And then when their tree falls down, they call me.
And I'd say too, life mastery is repetition, right? And don't get discouraged just because the first person that you talk to about this isn't interested in your market report, isn't interested in even being your friend. That's not your person. Obviously, that's not your person. But listen, I asked this in a room of our top Canadian agents. I said, how many of you have dated at least one person? And at first everybody was like kind of hesitant. They're like, I don't know, is this a trick question? Should I? And I'm like, no, just how many of you dated at least one person? And their hands went up. I was like, okay, so you know at least one person who liked you at one time, right? So we all know at least one person who wants to be our person, right?
Yeah.
And that's who you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's all you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think the thing with this is a lot of people are like, well, Russ, I tried that once. Like, no, this is like listen, market update is like a shower. Like, do it often. Okay. Shampoo, rinse, repeat. Just keep on doing it over and over. So with this thing, you got to say, okay, here's what I want you to commit to. Okay. So just like from a mindset standpoint, think of it like this. This part of the game is like growing bamboo. Have you ever seen bamboo grow?
I have, actually.
Okay, so you plant bamboo, and if you talk to a horticulturist, and he'll say, the guy that taught me about bamboo, I've got a little clumping bamboo thing to block off some stuff we didn't want to see. And he goes, okay, Russ, so here's the thing. Here's bamboo. The first year it sleeps. The second year it creeps. The third year it leaps. The fourth year, your neighbors are going to be bitching at you because your bamboo's all over their yard too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the way, if you get the running kind, it can go a mile underground and then pop up somewhere else. It's the same bamboo tree. It's just a mile away, popping up in somebody else's yard. So when you look at this thing, say, if I commit to doing this with intention for the next 12 months, okay, I will see a shift in what happens. I will see a shift. If I commit to doing this and just doing a market update every single month for my sphere of influence, do that for 12 months consistently, you will see a shift in the way people look at you, the way people interact with you, the way people communicate with you, and people are more likely to want to engage with you about real estate, and also more likely to want to do business with you when it's time, because you're starting to look like their expert. Same thing happens here. You do this for a year. Next thing you know, you go to the board event and agents are coming up to you instead of you having to go to them. When you have people coming to you, that's when you know you got it. Okay. Yeah. If they're not doing that, shampoo, rinse, repeat, keep doing it. At the 3-month mark, don't even worry about it. At the 6-month mark, expect nothing. At the 9-month mark, expect nothing. At the 12-month mark, you're going to start to see a difference. And you look back and go, I'm glad I did that for the last 12 months, because now I'm starting to see people coming to me for this and this. Total win across the board.
That's an easy enough formula to follow. Russ, thanks so much for this, man. We really appreciate this. Honestly, what RevShare has done for so many of our agents in terms of changing their lives, it's a shame that more agents don't realize just how simple this is to go out and do. And look, it's a cumulative thing. The first person who joins you isn't going to, be your retirement plan, but man, you keep at it like what you're talking about, you will have a great retirement plan in place for you when you're ready. Thank you, bud. As always, amazing. We really appreciate you.